Syed Abul Maududi, a towering figure in 20th-century Islamic thought and a pivotal force in the political landscape of South Asia, was born on the 25th of September, 1903, in Aurangabad, a city then part of the Hyderabad state in British India. His life spanned 76 years, concluding on the 22nd of September, 1979, in Buffalo, New York, while he was undergoing medical treatment. Maududi's journey was one of profound intellectual engagement, prolific authorship, and relentless activism, culminating in the establishment of Jamaat-e-Islami, a significant religio-political organization that shaped the discourse on Islamic resurgence. Maududi's lineage traced back to the Chishti order of Sufism, a spiritual heritage that imbued his early life with a strong sense of religious devotion. His father, Syed Ahmad Hassan, was a lawyer by profession but possessed a deep inclination towards religious learning and Sufi practices. Unlike many of his contemporaries who embraced a Western-style education, Maududi's father chose a more traditional, home-based Islamic education for his son. From a young age, Maududi was immersed in the study of Arabic, Persian, Islamic law, fiqh, and hadith, guided by private tutors. This early exposure to classical Islamic disciplines laid the foundational stones of his intellectual edifice, fostering a profound understanding of Islamic scripture and tradition. At the age of 11, Maududi's formal education began at the Oriental High School in Aurangabad, an institution whose curriculum was notably influenced by the renowned Islamic scholar, Shibli Nomani. Here, he continued his studies in Islamic subjects while also being introduced to mathematics and English. However, his academic pursuits were cut short due to financial difficulties and his father's illness, compelling him to leave college prematurely. This abrupt end to formal schooling, however, did not diminish his thirst for knowledge. Instead, it propelled him towards an intense period of self-study and independent intellectual exploration. During his formative years, particularly in his late teens and early 20s, Maududi delved deeply into a vast array of subjects, ranging from Western philosophy, political science, and economics to the works of prominent Islamic reformers and thinkers. He developed a keen interest in journalism, a field that would become an important vehicle for disseminating his ideas. At the age of 17, in 1919, he moved to Delhi and began his career in journalism, editing two prominent Deobandi newspapers, Muslim and Al-Jamiyat. This period marked a significant phase in his intellectual development, as he engaged with the political and social ferment of colonial India and the challenges faced by the Muslim community. He meticulously studied the works of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, a key figure in Muslim modernism, and critically analyzed the prevailing Western ideologies of capitalism, socialism, and secularism. It was during this time that Maududi began to articulate his distinctive vision of Islam as a comprehensive system of life, rather than merely a set of rituals or a personal creed. He became convinced that the decline of Muslim societies was largely due to their departure from the true spirit and principles of Islam, and their adoption of alien systems of thought and governance. His groundbreaking work, Al-Jihad fi al-Islam, Jihad in Islam, published in 1929 when he was only 26 years old, was a powerful articulation of his understanding of jihad not merely as warfare, but as a comprehensive struggle to establish divine justice and governance on earth. This work challenged prevailing interpretations and positioned Islam as a dynamic, revolutionary force capable of transforming society. In 1932, Maududi launched his influential monthly journal, Tarjuman al-Quran, Interpretation of the Quran, from Hyderabad. This journal became the primary platform for him to expound his understanding of Islam, dissecting contemporary issues through an Islamic lens and critiquing what he termed Jahiliyyah, ignorance, referring to modern secularism and materialism. Through Tarjuman al-Quran, he systematically developed his arguments for the establishment of an Islamic state, or a theodemocracy, where divine sovereignty, Hakimiyya, would be paramount, and human governance would be a vicegerency under God's law. The intellectual maturation of Maududi culminated in the realization that a mere intellectual exposition of Islamic principles was insufficient. He believed that a dedicated, organized movement was necessary to translate these principles into practical reality. This conviction led to the founding of Jamaat-e-Islami on the 26th of August, 1941, in Lahore. Maududi, along with 74 other individuals, laid the foundation for a movement that aimed to bring about a holistic Islamic revolution, not through violent uprising, but through a gradual process of moral, intellectual, and social transformation. The Jamaat-e-Islami was conceived as a vanguard party, whose members were to be exemplars of Islamic piety and knowledge, striving to implement the divine code in all spheres of life. At the time of India's impending partition, Maududi and Jamaat-e-Islami initially opposed the concept of a separate Muslim state, arguing that the creation of a nation-state based on territorial nationalism contradicted the universal brotherhood of Islam. He believed that Muslims should strive for an Islamic order across the entire subcontinent rather than confining themselves to a geographical entity. However, after the partition of India and the creation of Pakistan in 1947, Maududi and a significant portion of Jamaat-e-Islami migrated to the new Muslim state. This move marked a significant shift in their focus, as they now dedicated their efforts to transforming Pakistan into a truly Islamic state. The organization he headed became Jamaat-e-Islami Pakistan, while a separate Jamaat-e-Islami Hind was established in India. Upon arriving in Pakistan, Maududi became a vocal advocate for an Islamic constitution and the implementation of Sharia law. He tirelessly articulated his vision of an Islamic state, emphasizing that it would be a just and equitable society where the sovereignty of God would be supreme, and all human laws would be subservient to divine injunctions. His activism often brought him into direct confrontation with successive governments in Pakistan. He was imprisoned multiple times for his dissenting views and his relentless demands for Islamization. One of his most significant periods of incarceration was from 1948 to 1950, and again from 1953 to 1955. During the anti-Ahmadiyya riots in 1953, Maududi was arrested and sentenced to death for inciting religious hatred, a sentence that was later commuted to life imprisonment and eventually overturned due to widespread international pressure. These periods of imprisonment, far from stifling his resolve, often served to amplify his voice and solidify his position as a leading Islamic intellectual and political figure. Maududi's prolific writings formed the bedrock of his influence. His magnum opus, Tafhim al-Quran, The Meaning of the Quran, a 6-volume commentary on the Quran, took him 30 years to complete, from 1942 to 1972. This monumental work is not merely a linguistic or theological exegesis, but a comprehensive effort to make the Quran accessible to the modern reader, applying its teachings to contemporary challenges and outlining its socio-economic and political implications. Towards Understanding Islam, first published as Risalati Diniyat in 1930, another widely translated work, served as an introduction to Islamic principles for a broad audience. He also penned numerous books and pamphlets on various subjects, including Islamic economics, women's rights in Islam, the concept of God's sovereignty, and the role of the Muslim Ummah. His writings, translated into dozens of languages, provided an intellectual foundation for modern Islamic movements across the globe. In the political arena, Maududi and Jamaat-e-Islami consistently pushed for an Islamic framework for Pakistan. Their persistent lobbying efforts and intellectual arguments played a crucial role in shaping the Islamic provisions of Pakistan's 1956 constitution. He advocated for a system where legislation would be guided by the Quran and Sunnah, and where the head of state would be chosen through consultation, shura. While his party never achieved a mass electoral following, its intellectual and moral influence on Pakistani politics was undeniable. It played a significant role in various political agitations, including those that led to the downfall of President Ayub Khan in 1969 and Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in 1977. Maududi's political philosophy centered on the concept of Hakimiyya, or God's sovereignty, arguing that true governance belongs solely to Allah, and human beings are merely his vicegerents. This concept formed the ideological basis for his call for an Islamic state, a system he often described as a theodemocracy, where the populace would elect rulers who would then govern strictly according to divine law. He critically analyzed Western democracy, secularism, and nationalism, arguing that these ideologies were inherently flawed and incompatible with the comprehensive nature of Islam. He envisioned a society where all aspects of life, political, economic, social, and cultural, would be ordered according to Islamic principles, fostering justice, equality, and moral uprightness. In his later years, Maududi continued his intellectual and organizational work despite deteriorating health. He retired as the Emir, leader, of Jamaat-e-Islami in 1972 due to health reasons, but remained an influential figure and continued to write and offer guidance. His final years were marked by a continued commitment to scholarship and activism, inspiring generations of Islamic thinkers and activists. He passed away in 1979, leaving behind a monumental legacy. Maududi's impact extended far beyond the borders of Pakistan. His ideas profoundly influenced various Islamic movements and thinkers globally, including Syed of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, and contributed significantly to the discourse on Islamic revivalism and political Islam in the 20th century. He is widely regarded as one of the most influential Muslim scholars and ideologues of his time, whose intellectual contributions and organizational efforts laid much of the groundwork for contemporary Islamist movements. His insistence on Islam as a complete and comprehensive way of life, his articulation of the Islamic State, and his call for a proactive engagement with modernity through an Islamic lens continue to resonate in the Muslim world. His legacy, though often debated and interpreted in diverse ways, undeniably marks him as a pivotal figure who shaped the trajectory of Islamic thought and activism in the modern era.